Today we're going to be studying measurement conversion. We are going to be studying distance. We are not going to be studying weights or volume or speed. And we'll leave that for Algebra 2. And there's a lot of reasons why we do measurement conversions. We may have a measurement in feet and I need it in miles, or we may have it in miles and I need it in feet. Or we may have something complicated where I have something in 32 feet, and could you convert that to centimeters? So this is how we do that. Now for the system of measurements that we use, I'm going to call it the American system. The official name for this system is the Traditional System of Weights and Measures, which is why we're going to be calling it the American system. Now everything I'm showing you right now you need to memorize, but you should also already be familiar with this. There are 12 inches to 1 foot. There are 3 feet to 1 yard. There are 5,280 feet to a mile. Now in the metric system, there are 1,000 millimeters to a meter, and milli means 1,000th, that is 1 out of 1,000. There are 1,000 meters to a kilometer, or kilometer, and kilo means 1,000. So when I say kilometers, that's 1,000 meters. Now there are all sorts of other measures like decimeters and decameters and things like that, but the only other one that we're going to use is centimeters. And there are 100 centimeters to a meter. Now that should be easy to memorize. Centi means what? 100. There are 100 cents in a dollar. There are 100 years in a century. So that should be how you remember that. Now the last thing that you need to know is how to convert metric to American. The easiest way to do that is 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch. The first thing we're going to convert is miles to feet. And we're going to convert 17.37 miles to feet. And by the way, remember I told you that the Europeans love to put those flags on the ones, and I'm putting these tiny little flags on there just for our American sensibilities. But I was watching a YouTube today and this guy was writing ones, and I'm telling you, to any American they would look like sevens. The flags on the top of those ones was so big. But anyways, to respect and honor our European cousins, we are going to put tiny little flags on our ones. So let's see how we convert that. This is how we're always going to start. We're going to start with the thing that we're converting, 17.37 miles, and we're going to put that over 1. Both the number and the miles. Now I know in a lot of the transactions we do, we don't put the measurements in there. And there's good reasons for that. Mr. Wallace and I both believe that they're confusing. But if they're not confusing and they help to avoid confusion, well then we use them. Because what am I trying to get rid of? I'm trying to get rid of miles. And what am I trying to end up with? I'm trying to end up with feet. So this is what we're going to do. And we're going to multiply that times a fraction that looks like this. Can you see what we're doing? We started with miles on the top, and in the next fraction that we're multiplying, we're going to have miles on the bottom. Do you see what that does? That gives us miles over miles. What's miles over miles? What's anything over itself? It's 1. Therefore, miles will be eliminated. And what are we going to have left? Well, whatever you want left. In this case, we want feet. Okay, so we're going to put feet on top. And if you think about it, we're going to eliminate miles and miles. And whatever we multiply out here is going to be our number of feet. Now, what is the ratio of feet to miles? You already memorized that, didn't you? It's 5280. Now be careful, because sometimes we'll have the bigger number on the bottom. but our ratio should tell us where everything is. We wanted miles on the bottom so that we could eliminate miles, and we wanted feet on the top. So what is the ratio of feet to miles? It's 5280 feet to 1 mile. I can put a 1 there if you like. I don't think I need to, but 1 times mile. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is cancel out my miles. So miles have now been eliminated from our problem. And what do we have left? We have feet. What did they ask for in the question? They asked us to convert miles to feet. Okay, so that's what we're going to have left. That's all we have left is feet. Now all I need to do is to multiply these two numbers. And when you multiply that out, you will get 91,713.6 feet. Make sure you put a comma after the 91. Now let's try another conversion problem. We are going to convert 8 cubic feet to cubic yards. Now the first thing is this is very practical because if you're in construction or if you're in landscaping, and I'm sure a lot of other industries, almost everything is measured in cubic yards. So, like I said, that's practical. And the other thing is it's 8 cubic feet. Now it's the feet that's cubic. I know we're used to that cube being on the other side of the foot. It's not the 8 that's cubic. It's the foot. So like the last problem, we're going to start off with the measurement that we want to convert, and that's 8 cubic feet. And this is how we would write it. 8 foot times foot times foot. Now you can put 8 foot and a 3 there, a cube, but it's a lot easier if you do it this way. And I'll show you why. If we're converting cubic feet to cubic yards, we're going to need to start off with our feet on top, and as we convert it, our foot is going to be on the bottom, and what are we converting it to? Yards. Now, what is the conversion ratio? It's not 3 yards to a foot. I see that a lot because we're used to putting the big numbers up here. Like I warned you in the last problem, we're not always going to be putting the big numbers up here. It's 3 feet in 1 yard, right? 3 feet equals 1 yard. 3 feet, 1 yard. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a second, I have cubic feet up here. I have foot times foot times foot, and I only have 1 foot down here. Well, how are we going to deal with that? Well, why don't we do this 3 times? And each time we do that, it's going to be 1 yard over 3 feet, 1 yard over 3 feet, 1 yard over 3 feet, multiplying all of that out. Now what does that do? So I've eliminated 1 foot, foot over foot. That's going to eliminate that. And so foot times foot times foot over foot times foot times foot is what? It's 1. So we're going to eliminate all those feet. And what do I have left? I have yard times yard times yard. I have cubic yards, which is what I'm looking for. And now, all I have to do is multiply the numbers out. Okay, I have 8 on top. And what do I have on the bottom? 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So 8 divided by 27. And that is 0.296, 296, 296, 296, repeating cubic yards. And I told you before, you only need to bring that out 2 decimal places. Now, if you did that, what would you do? That'd be 29? No. You're going to round up that number. That's over 5. That's 5 or over, I should say. So you round this up to 30. It's going to be 0.30. And you can write cubic yards like this, like YD cubed, and that tells me it's cubic yards. You can write CU YD, like short for cubic yards, or you can write out cubic yards like this. Now, you know most mathematicians are lazy. I was always told mathematicians are lazy. I'm not sure that's true. They do really hard work, but anytime they can abbreviate, they will abbreviate. I can tell you that. And this is the most common abbreviation for cubic yards. So let's try something else. A room is 10 feet by 12 feet. How many square yards are in the room? And again, that's a very practical question. If you have a bedroom, normal size for a bedroom is 10 feet by 12 feet. But if you want to buy carpet for that bedroom, they sell carpet by the square yard. So we're going to multiply this out and we're going to get square feet, right? By the way, those tick marks mean feet. I hope you learned that in elementary school. And what do you do for inches? You do double tick marks. So like 2 of those tick marks behind that 12 would be 12 inches. But anyways, we're going to multiply this out and we're going to get 120 square feet. Not feet, square feet. We multiplied 10 times 12 and we multiplied foot times foot. That gives us square feet. And now we're going to convert that to square yards. And the thing that we want to convert, we are going to put over 1. And you know, Mr. Wallace likes to put like feet squared, and then when he does his conversions, he's messing around with exponents, which I just see too many places to go wrong there. He's not wrong. A lot of people do it that way, but you know, a lot of people do it this way too. And this is the way I like to do it. If you like to do it Mr. Wallace's way, and you like to put foot with a square behind it, that's just fine. But anyways, what is our conversion factor? We're starting off with feet and we want to end up with yards. So to get rid of feet, we put feet on the bottom and our ratio is 3 feet to 1 yard. And of course, you already know the problem is I'm only getting rid of 1 foot. So what am I going to do? Same thing I did last time. I'm going to do this twice. Actually, before we did it 3 times, right? But that was cubic feet to cubic yards. Or was it cubic yards to cubic feet? I can't remember. But anyways, we got square feet. So it's foot, foot. And so I'm going to be doing this twice. That's why I wrote that. Foot, foot, not foot squared. Foot, foot tells me I'm going to have to do this twice. And by the way, once you do a couple of homework problems and you start doing these square problems and cubic problems, you start seeing what I'm talking about and it starts becoming real natural. But make sure that you don't start putting 3 yards to 1 foot or something crazy like that. Put foot on the bottom, put yard on the top, and then really think about what the conversion is. And it's 1 over 3. And so that's what that will look like. And we're going to cross out foot, 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 foot. So foot, foot over foot, foot equals 1. And we're going to be left with yard, yard, which is what we're looking for, square yards. So if we multiply out the top, it's going to be 120 times 1, which is 120, of course. And 1 times 3 is 9. So 120 over 9. And that is 13.33. And that 3 is repeating out to infinity. Square yards. And I hope you're noticing that I'm saying, like I said in the first problem, it's not yards squared, it's square yards. Now be careful of that, because when you put that square here, it sounds like the square pertains to that. But and that's why we write it this way, because that exponent applies to yards, not the number. Okay, let's try one more problem that is going to be a little bit more sophisticated. We're going to move from metric to American. We are going to convert 8 kilometers square to square feet. Now, you could put FT with a 2 exponent behind it, with a square exponent behind it, or you could put SF. SF is a real common abbreviation for square feet. But in any event, let's get started with this. And what are we going to do? Our conversion factor was what? Do you remember? It was centimeters. So we're going to have to convert this down to centimeters. And, well, rather than telling you the whole thing I'm going to do, why don't we convert this down to centimeters? Because that's the conversion point. 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch. And then I'm going to have to convert inches to square feet. And I told you I wasn't going to tell you that. But anyways, let's start. And I said anyways too. It's anyway. Let's convert kilometers down to centimeters. Okay, it's 8 kilometer over 1. And remember, it's the kilometers that are squared, not the 8. And let's convert that to meters. Okay, we're trying to get rid of our kilometers, so we're going to put kilometers on the bottom. And we're trying to convert to meters, and so we're going to put meters on top. And our ratio of meters to kilometers, if you remember, it was 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. Now you can write a 1 in front of that kilometer if that makes you feel better. I know a lot of people do that. I know a lot of books do that. I don't think it's necessary, but that's up to you. And you got to remember, how many kilometers are we getting rid of? We're getting rid of 2, so we're going to have to do this twice. Remember, we're messing with squares. So everything that we convert, we're going to have to double up. And now, meters is not what we want. But I told you, I mean, we don't know how to convert kilometers to inches. Or, I'm sorry, we don't know how to convert kilometers to feet. So you might know how to convert kilometers to centimeters. And by the way, that's 100,000. That's the ratio there. But, you know, since most people don't know that, let's deal with things that we do know. We're converting kilometers to meters. And then we can convert meters to centimeters. And we want to get rid of meters, so we're putting meters on the bottom. Meters, 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 meters. And our ratio is 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. Okay, so now we have converted it to square centimeters. Now, that is the conversion point, centimeters. We're going to go to inches. I don't know how many centimeters are in a foot. Do you? If you do, well, great. But I certainly don't. And so we're going to convert what we do know. And to convert to metric, I like to hold on to one thing. And the only thing I know, well, I know a couple of things, but the thing that I really remember is 2.54 centimeters to inches. Now, I don't want to keep going over here. I'm going to have to duck my head, and I don't really want to do that. I'm going to go to the next line, and that's a very common thing to do with problems like this. The only problem is you gotta be real careful how you multiply everything out on the top and how you cross divide, getting rid of the kilometers and centimeters and making all your conversions and stuff like that. But anyways, we are up to square centimeters, and so let's convert from centimeters to inches. Okay, like we discussed, our centimeters are on top, so if we're going to convert them, we need to get our centimeters on the bottom. And we said we're going to convert them to inches, so we're going to have our inches on top. And what's the conversion ratio? It's not 2.54 to 1. It's 1 over 2.54. The 2.54 goes with the centimeters, not the inches. And if you look at a centimeter, you'll see that it's about, you need about 2.5 of those to get to an inch. So we are on American Standard, or the American system, and we have converted to inches. But where do we want to go? We want to go to feet. We want to go to square feet. So let's get rid of those inches and go to feet. Okay, we're starting off with inches on the top, which means we're going to have to put our inches on the bottom. And there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Please don't put 12 feet in 1 inch. Okay, make sure you don't make mistakes like that, because that's a real common thing to do, and I think it's just sloppiness. I think once you put in, and most students I see, they're putting the inches and the feet like exactly where they're supposed to be, and then they do the opposite of the conversion. So once you do that, think about that. And if you think about 12 feet in an inch, you're going to be saying, no, I don't think so. So anyways, let's get rid of our kilometers. Very good. Let's get rid of our meters. Now let's get rid of our centimeters. And finally, let's get rid of our inches. Now, sure, that's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that, and I'm sure you will too. However, this crossing out, like we just did, is a real good check that you have everything in the right place. Like if somewhere in here you have 2 meters that you're crossing out, and then you cross out 2 meters on top again, just go, whoa, 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 whoa. I made a mistake. So this is a real good check. As you cross out 2 on the top, you cross out 2 on the bottom. I'm assuming that's squares. If it's a regular conversion, it's kilometer on the top and a kilometer on the bottom. If it's cubic kilometers, that would be a big measurement, but it would be cross out 3 on the top, cross out 3 on the bottom, and that's a good way to keep you straight. And that's another place you could make a mistake. If you're doing cubic and you only have 2 on the bottom, go, wait a second, I made a mistake here. Let's look at my work again. Let's see where I made a mistake. Okay, so we didn't make any mistakes. We crossed out 2 of everything on the top and 2 of everything on the bottom, and all that we're left with is foot, which is what we're converting to, square feet. And we are going to multiply 8 times 1,000 times 1,000 times 100 times 100 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Okay, so what is that number? And that number is 80 billion. Now, let me show you an easy way to do that. You probably already know this, but it's 8 times 1 times 1 times a gazillion ones. So we're going to be left with 8. And how many zeros do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I just write down 8 and I write 10 zeros behind it, and then I just put the commas where they're supposed to be. Now on the bottom, we are going to multiply 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 2.54 times 2.54 times 12 times 12. Now you can just forget the ones, and we got 2.54 twice, that is squared, times 12 squared. In the bottom we have a number of 929.0304. And I know I said only carry out the decimal 2 places. That would be for an answer. But as you can see, I have just a huge number, 80 billion, and so I'm going to want a lot of accuracy when I divide that out. And let's divide that out. So the answer is 86,111,283.33, and that 33 goes out into infinity. Correct? Now, you forgot to put square feet behind there. There you go, that's our answer. With the square foot behind it, I wrote FT. With the square behind the FT, you can write SF for square feet. Some people like to write SQFT. It's kind of an abbreviation for square feet. I don't know, that's starting to get a little bit longer than I like. And one other thing I should warn you about is that Mr. Wallace, his answer for this is different than mine. It's It's a little bit different. It's 86,067,200. Not sure how he came up with that answer. He did a conversion in a different way than I did. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this problem in Google, and I'm going to see what Google comes up with. I'm sure they're going to be a lot more accurate than either one of us. So in the next lesson, I'll tell you how that all worked out. So make sure you do your homework, as I'm sure you will. I went on Google and I Googled these calculations, and this is the correct number. Now, I probably should have rounded it up at some place. The question didn't ask me to do that. 2 decimal places is way too accurate for a conversion of a number that's this big. Perhaps the best place to round it would be 86, 111,000, and then leave it at that. Possibly round this up to 300. But the number that Mr. Wallace comes up with is incorrect. It's when I say it's incorrect, all of this is just rounding errors at this point. The 86,000, and he's close to 100,000, is probably fine. I like to be a little bit more accurate. Now, why is he less accurate than I am? Now, when I say I'm more accurate, like I said, I calculated this with the Google calculators. Those guys, you know, they got it down to the centimeter, and I'm not doing that. But Google, this is the number that they came up with, or it was very close to that. I think these last couple of numbers might be wrong, but the major numbers up here are correct. Now, Mr. Wallace is using, I don't know what kind of system he's using. He may be calculating this from kilometers to miles. That's going to be less accurate. It's not a wrong way of doing it. And if you're on the SAT test, believe you me, they're not going to give you 2 numbers that are really, really close. And if you use the wrong method, you're going to be wrong. Even if you use his method, you're going to be right on the SAT. But I just like to be darned accurate. And when you calculate from centimeters to inches, when you do that conversion, it's extremely accurate. Don't know why, but it is. And so the calculations from kilometers to miles has more rounding errors. And but again, I'm not sure that's the way he did it, because I did it that way and I came up with a number that was closer to what he had, but it was still off. So there you go. And I want you to do your homework and you'll get real good at this.